Hello YouTube and welcome to Atlanta Motor Speedway, site to race weekend number 2. Just having to wait for a car to go out on track. Sounds like we got one coming. There he is. And it will be James Qualls in car number 11. One of the Go or Go home cars this week, driving the Marines FedEx car. I say one of the Go or Go home cars because this is a car that made it in on speed last week, does not have the top 30 spot in points from last season to fall back on. So they will have to make it on speed. 37th place finish for Qualls at Daytona. Jeffrey McCullough in the 26 made the Daytona 500 on the last spot in his duel. And with that spot brought home a 34th place finish at Daytona. Gonna look for better things here. But first we'll have to make the field on speed. Isaac Flickinger, one of the part-time cars, also a Go or Go home car once again this week, was able to make the 500 and brought home a 32nd place finish for their efforts. We'll have to follow his progress and see if they can make the field again. We do know one of the Go or Go home cars, or one of the part-time cars I should say, is locked into the field. We'll get to that later. Tristan Wilhoit, who could not have had his speed weeks go much better than what it did. The Lumber Liquidators Ford this week wins the Bud Shootout in the Aflac car, brings the Dish Network scheme for the 500, and the only thing he was missing for the speed weeks was his duel win. He wasn't able to win the duel, but that is literally the only thing he was missing. As he brings home his first career Daytona 500 victory, his third win in the Coke Vanilla Cup Series. Alexander Rowe, who definitely could have had his Daytona 500 go better, made the field, but unfortunately only brings home a 40th place finish. He is guaranteed a spot in this race, though, because he does have one of those top 30 spots. So too does Tristan Wilhoit, by the way. Worth mentioning as well. So Wilhoit and Rowe, neither one of them going to have to worry about qualifying. Stephen Paul III also is locked into this race. And at Daytona brought home a 27th place finish for car number 23. So going to have to try and still... Well, he's going to have to hope for a decent run, I think, because still going to try and make the top 30 in points for this season so that they don't have to worry about qualifying either. Zachary Fitzwater will race. He is locked into this race on points, but unfortunately for him at Daytona, it could have gone better. 38th place finish for car number 19, bringing out the Fantastic Four scheme this week. The Daytona 500 pole-sitting car, Amy Shelley, brings out the Altel scheme this week. And unfortunately for Amy, let's see, I'm trying to look for where she finished actually. This might be a terrible thing to have said because I don't know. Oh, never mind, it was an 18th place finish for Amy. Okay. So a decent finish there. Sets them up well for Amy Shelley. Going to try and build on that here at Atlanta. And it starts here with qualifying, trying to get a good starting spot. RJ Reynolds in car number 44, the UPS Toyota. DNQ'd at for the 500. And again brings out the yellow stripe scheme this week. So once again going to be a Go or Go home car this week. Going to have to try and hope for better. I wish them success, really. I want to see this car hopefully make it, because that was unfortunately my fault what happened last week, sending the wrong car, but oh well. William Flickinger, another one of the cars that DNQ'd the 500, going to look for better things here. They're bringing out the wide mouth can scheme once again. Flickinger, again a Go or Go home car this week, no points to fall back on from last season. At least not that are good enough to make it. Mary Shelley bringing out the patriotic M&M scheme. The Season 3 champion will race this race. They are locked in on points. They don't even have to worry about the past champions provisional. 13th last weekend for Mary Shelley at Daytona, so off to a good start already. William Brock, currently 5th quickest, will race on points. I forget whose points they bought, but they are in this race on points, I believe. For Brock, it was... trying to look for where they were at. I'm having to look at really tiny writing, that's why. 21st for William Brock last week. Okay, there's where he was. Currently 5th quickest, though, in this session. Henry Sanford is currently 6th quickest in this session, but will race on points. Brought home a 3rd place finish at Daytona, so a great effort there for their start of the season. Gene Sanford, one of the Go Home cars, is currently 2nd quickest, though, in this group, the Team Australia Ford. She was able to make the 500 and was good enough for 17th place finish. That's the thing I will say about Jean. She's been able to really do well at making races. Just never been able to pull it off and seal the deal at the end. Cole Deaver is currently 4th quickest. They will race on points, though, so speed not really a big concern for him. For Cole, it was a 31st place finish at Daytona. Not the finish they probably would have liked, but it's something at least. It's better than D&Q points. Jeffrey McCullough, currently 3rd quickest, another one of the Go Home cars. Right now, Go Home cars in the top 3 slots is what I noticed out of this group. McCullough did make the 500, but only finished 34th place, so gonna have to look for better things here should he make the field. Mark George is currently 12th quickest in the 42. Was able to make the 500, but has to qualify in on speed here. A 35th place finish for Mark George at the 500. Not what they would have liked, but still better than what they finished last year, so it's already a better start. Zach Rogers in car number 10, the Valvoline scheme, trying to give me hassle again this week. 12th quickest for Zach Rogers currently, and at the 500 it was a 26th place finish. So at least a top 30 start to the season. We'll have to see how that can carry over. Dylan Young, the Nicorette car, 18th quickest right now. This is another one of the Go Home cars right now, so that's not looking good. It's looking like a very quick repeat of last season for this team. Dylan was able to make the 500. I'm trying to look for where he finished, though. Oh, there it was, 7th place. So one of the top 10 cars from last week at Daytona is looking to struggle right now. Seth Cole, the National Guard car, is currently the quickest car in this group, and that's a good sign for them because Seth Cole was one of the cars that D&Q'd the 500, so looking for a better performance here, just trying to get some solid points on the board, because these first 3 races will decide the top 30 for race 4 on, so there is that. Steve Pollard, currently 25th quickest, one of the Go Home cars, the Holiday Inn Chevy, not looking all that promising right now. For Steve, he is just a part-time car though this season, so not looking for too much. They were a top 5 car last week at Daytona though, coming off a 5th place finish. Ali Nelson will race the number 36 360 OTC car with Walgreens on the car this week. 30th place finish for Nelson last week at Daytona, currently 20th quickest, but like I said, will race, so that's the good news for him. Nelson going to look for a solid run, try and improve where she's at, because you don't want to be on that top 30 border, if I'm being honest. Christopher Pierce on pit lane, the breast cancer awareness number 41, currently 11th quickest, and is one of the Go Home cars this week. Pierce coming off a 14th place finish in his debut at the 500, so Gonna be looking to build off of that and hopefully make the race first off, actually. Not sure, I don't remember if I talked about RJ Reynolds, but has the yellow stripe, number 44, 22nd quickest right now. D&Q'd the 500, so looking for better things here. Chris Wilson brings out the Best Buy scheme. They will race. They are 13th quickest right now. Wilson, a part-time car this year, and comes off a 6th place finish at the 500, so good start to the year for a car that's not going to be running all the races. Most of, but not all. Isaac Flickinger, 21st quickest. I don't remember talking about him. I don't know. One of the Go Home cars this week, and coming off a 32nd place finish last week at Daytona. Max Anderson brings out the Snickers scheme this week, not the Snickers Dark at least. 9th quickest right now, and they will race on points. That is guaranteed. So Anderson DNF'd the 500, so not a good start to his Coke Vanilla career, but did actually win the Reebok race on debut, so it wasn't a terrible speed weeks for Anderson. 41st place finish though at the 500, going to look for better things here. In standby time here, flying laps will count for the next 10 seconds. And that is it. So, for group number 1, it is Seth Cole on top with Gene Sanford and Jeffrey McCullough, James Qualls and Henry Sanford making up top 5. So, 4 of the Gorgo home cars in the top 4 slots make it look promising for them to make it in. Looks like RJ Reynolds, William Flickinger, Isaac Flickinger going to be some of the tricky ones to make it in on speed, and I'm not sure I'd feel too confident if I was Christopher Pierce either, the 41 car. Either way, I'm not going to be able to really know a whole lot, so we'll just take a short commercial break and we'll be back for group number 2. And we are back for group number 2 here in this session, or this qualifying session for Atlanta. Probably by the time Sunday comes around, I will actually, or by the time I record the Sunday race, I should know where, should know what the race sponsor is. First car out there will be Jessica Shelton, though, the Little Debbie's Ford here for the Wood Brothers. Gonna look for better things here. Can't go too much worse than Daytona. They were in the Bud Shootout. That didn't go as planned. I think they finished pretty well though. And then obviously didn't have the speed at Daytona in terms of the qualifying, and were unable to race their way into duels and ended up in the D&Q race. So Shelton, a Gorgo home car once again this week, just going to look for some momentum here to start off 2007 and try and hopefully make this race here at Atlanta. Charles Jackson, the longest yard Dodge, car number 9, will race this race with one of those top 30 slots from last year. And it was a 33rd place finish last week at Daytona for Charles Jackson. Looking for better things here. Kev Shear in car 43, looking to build off of Daytona, or actually looking to improve off Daytona. 39th place finish after finishing second in his dual race. The Cheerios Dodge going to look to try and make this race because he is one of the Gorgo home cars, so has to make it in on speed. Zach Flickinger in car 55, the Napa Auto Parts Toyota, will also have to make this race on speed, and they were one of the D&Qs at Daytona. So, not a good start to the year for car 55. Going to look for better things here. Levi McIntyre will be one of those that is going to try and build off the momentum at Daytona. 15th place finish at the Super Speedway at the Great American Race. Goes to the top of the board in this session. And for Levi, they do have one of the top 30 slots from last year. Granted, just 29th, but it doesn't matter at this point. We're not looking at where in top 30, just that they were top 30. Baron Patterson will also race. Just barely squeaked his way into the 500 and turned a last place starting spot into an 10th place finish at Daytona. He's 11th in points because of Will Lewis actually leading the most laps. So, or no, leading a lap, I think is what it was. Either way, Patterson barely squeaked in, but turned it into an 11th place finish. A great job there at Daytona for the Roush Racing crew, looking for better things this year. William Duncan, the AT&T Chevy, was able to make it into the 500 on speed. Won't have to worry about making it on speed this week. They are one of the top 30 cars from last season. I'm trying to look at where Duncan finished at Daytona. Because the problem is I'm trying to look on the... oh, there it is. 8th place finish for William Duncan, so looking to build off of that momentum and just carry it over here to Atlanta. For the way that people look at the season, obviously just depends on how you did. If you didn't run well, you're saying the real season starts here. Sky Commons probably, is somewhat one of those guys. 25th place finish at Daytona, but will have to make it in on speed to Atlanta just because they do not have the points from last season, obviously with this new team. Currently 10th quickest though in this session. We'll have to see how that can stack up. Vince Almarego in car 15, the Energizer Chevy, will not have to worry about speed and just jumped up to the 10th spot on speed right now in this group. I'm trying to remember if it was a 26.1 or a 26.3 was the top time by Seth Cole over in group number 1. I didn't quite look at times, I just looked at positions. Almarego, though, is one of those that definitely just wants to build on the momentum. A 4th place finish at Daytona. Looking for good things here as well. Tom Shelley, currently the quickest car in this group and looking to turn things around. He's one of those guys that's definitely saying the real season starts here. 42nd place finish for Tom Shelley at Daytona, one of the DNFs involved in the wreck that was started by his own teammate, Kev Shear. So they got through Monday, though, and they're here at Atlanta. Jack James in car number 4, currently 11th quickest in this group. Gonna have to make the, or no, he doesn't have to make this race. I'm sorry, the 4 is locked in. So that was major frame drop. I apologize. I was thinking of last season where the 4 was not all that good, but he's got the O-Force points. That's right. So 23rd place finish, looking to try and build off of that and give himself a little bit more cushion going into Bristol. Sam Young, the Panasonic Chevy, currently third quickest in this group, will race, has one of those top 30 slots, and will come into this race 12th in the points right now after a 12th place finish at Daytona, so good start there. Charles Sanford, the Team Chevy, gonna have to look for better things this weekend. They were one of the cars that DNQ'd the 500. So can't go much worse. Actually, it was a 2nd place finish in the DNQ race last week, so they are 44th in the points coming in, but need to make this race on speed because they do not have top 30 spawn points. Jonathan Zorline gonna look to turn a DNQ race win into a show make here. Currently 16th quickest, gonna need to probably improve that time right now, coming off the DNQ win, like I said, at Daytona. So 43rd in the points for Zorline. Mohammed Zain Abdullah, who was able to win his dual race at Daytona, is 24th quickest, but will race. And they had a very good car all speed weeks long, it looked like, because, well, other than maybe on single car. Because once they got into the race, they were really good. Also finished 2nd in the 500, so couldn't quite pull off that first career win. So let's see how that can go for him. Chris Washer, the defending champion, currently 11th quickest, will race on points, so they don't have to make it in on speed. Gonna hope to build on the momentum there a little bit. 19th place finish at Daytona, so if they can just kind of put together 2 solid runs, they should be able to be top 30 in points. Delon Ebrahimian, one of the Go Home cars, is 25th quickest right now in this group, the AAA Insurance Ford. Coming off a 9th place finish at the Daytona International Speedway. But right now it's not looking good. Chris Louvier in the 01 U.S. Army Chevy, currently 14th quickest, and I need to see the deck lid. If they make this race, I need to see the deck lid. Actually, regardless of which race they are in, I need to see the deck lid. Either way, 16th quickest will come back to Louvier. Oh, there it goes. Now he moves out on track. Okay. For Louvier, it was a 28th place finish at Daytona. Okay, there's the deck lid. I just need to see that. Johnny Gardner is 3rd quickest right now in this group, and that should be a time good enough to race. I don't know. It depends on what happens here. Gardner with a 36th place finish at Daytona, needing to turn that around at least to hopefully make top 30 in points if they don't want to have to worry about qualifying in on speed. Will Lewis, the DirecTV Chevy, will race, currently 22nd quickest, and coming off an 11th place finish at Daytona. So just needs 2 more solid runs and they will be top 30 in points. Preston Plord, car number 20, with the store number on it. Not one of the Go Home cars, but 9th quickest either way. Gonna have to try and do better than he did at Daytona. 29th quickest, or 29th place finish there. So he's definitely one of those cars that's probably saying the real season starts here at Atlanta. Bill Braddock Jr., car 22, currently 23rd quickest. They will race. They were one of the top 30 cars in points last season. And for Braddock, it was a solid race. 16th place finish at Daytona. Kyle Matthews in car 48, the Lowe's Chevy. Should be a little bit easier for me to at least determine which car it is this week. One of the Go Home cars, currently 25th quickest. That's going to have to improve if Matthews wants to make it in. Kyle, though, if he doesn't, was 24th place finisher at Daytona, so at least has something going for him there. Tim Randolph, the number 60, will race. They are 18th quickest in this session, and it was a 22nd place finish at Daytona for Tim Randolph and this crew. So a solid start, looking to just kind of build on that. Joshua Osborne looks like he will make the show. He was one of the D&Qs at Daytona, so a good run for him here in qualifying. Might actually put him on the front row too, if my thinking is correct here. I think it was 5th place in the D&Q race last season, so going to need a very solid run here to be able to turn it around from missing the show. When I was talking about Kyle, I forgot that 25th would have been the slowest car. Whoops. That'll be to the rear of whichever field Zach Flickinger makes. 4th quickest right now. Looks like the engine explosion there will put him to the rear of the show. So, but at least if he does make the show, he is in on. He does get more points. So, tough start there for Flickinger. D&Q'd the 500 and now has an engine failure here at Atlanta. Flying laps do count right now. I'm not sure if this group of 3 cars right here was able to make it to the line in time. Looks like Sky Commons made a jump up to 15th. The others Will Lewis up to 14th. But that is it for qualifying. Joshua Osborne, quickest of this group. Levi McIntyre, Johnny Gardner, Zach Flickinger, Charles Jackson, the top 5. Looks like Kyle Matthews, Charles Sanford, Jonathan Zorline will be cars that are in trouble for missing the show. And I would say Louvier and Shelton's going to be nervous watching. It's going to be close. I don't know where. It's basically you just don't want to be the 8 slowest of the Go Home cars. And I know there were 4 of them in the top 6 in Group 1. So with that, that is it for qualifying here. Starting grid will be right after this with the D&Qs there as well. With that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.